so many foundations take the infrastructure of philanthropy for granted. The infrastructure that educates them, the infrastructure that protects them in Lansing and Washington from bad laws and bad regulations, the infrastructure that arranges meetings so that people can share lessons learned. For the most part, most foundations just ignore it. It's a free rider problem. They let a few foundations fund it. Fortunately, the Kellogg Foundation, the biggest foundation in the state of Michigan by quite a ways at that time, still is today, Russ Mobby had the vision that included the importance of infrastructure organizations. And it was pretty clear, too, that the sort of zeitgeist or the spirit of the age was moving in the direction of volunteerism and philanthropy. You know, we'd gone through the me decade of the 70s, and in the 80s, there was really a renaissance of young people interested in volunteering and serving. So Russ and Pete Ellis, I mentioned Pete Ellis earlier. Pete was my programming mentor at the Kellogg Foundation. And Pete understood it too, that there was a tremendous need to build an infrastructure of philanthropy and volunteerism and nonprofits in the state. Of course, on the Kellogg board was Dorothy Johnson, who was the president of the Council of Michigan Foundations and brought a from the trenches perspective of the importance. And Russ had a great way of putting it. He said, you know, so many things that we do in this country, we do for ourselves in associations, voluntary associations. When parents, just to take one example, decided that their kids should have the ability to play soccer if they wanted to. There was no government program to start soccer leagues in every sizable town in the country. There was no corporate initiative to do it. It was volunteers who got together, who formed the American Youth Soccer Organization, and who made it happen in community after community. As Russ said, the quality of life of all of our lives really depends on that sector. So the Kellogg Foundation put its money where its mouth was and decided to support not only individual programs in philanthropy and volunteerism, but the underlying infrastructure that supported all of those programs. So Pete was giving leadership to it. Unfortunately, he had a massive heart attack and died in 1989. And Russ asked me then to take the lead on it. And it was fascinating sitting in a room with the giants, really, of that era. Dottie Johnson, just an amazing, charismatic presence, one of the greatest natural leaders I've ever seen. Russ Mobby, a visionary in so many respects, a statesman in the world of philanthropy, and some of the people who were building these things too, who were just amazing people, like John Lohr, for example, Randy Rieker, great volunteers. And we began to fund these infrastructure organizations at a level that no one else was even approaching. I think if you took all the other foundations in Michigan and added them up, they probably still weren't doing as much as Kellogg was doing to advance philanthropy and volunteerism.